Okay, so welcome back to Thursday night formation, faith formation night. Today we have a special guest, Leanne Rodriguez. She's our new youth minister who's with us tonight. So thank you all for joining us. Please put any questions you have for Leanne in the chat, okay? And we'll of course answer them at the end. We're very excited, of course, to have her here at St. Thomas More. Um, she just got on board about 3 weeks ago during Holy Week, and so she's kind of just thrown right into the mix. And so, no better way than to push somebody into a deep end if they need to learn how to swim, right? So we got her
Exactly.
working really hard. She's doing a great job so far. So, like we do with all things, let's begin with a prayer, and I will go ahead and lead us in prayer, and then we'll get to know Leanne. So let's begin in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, so Leanne, welcome. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to St. Thomas More. Um,
Thanks. Happy to be here.
yeah, well, the hiring process I think started back in well the for us this job search started back in January. I mean,
Hmm.
and so we were obviously committed to looking for finding a new youth minister and someone soon and someone qualified. And I think we found all of that in you, and so we're really excited to have you. But of course, we know you. I know you. Father Clark knows you, but most of our parishioners don't know you yet. So,
Yeah.
of course, being still kind of under COVID restrictions, um, things have been a little difficult. But tell us about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your history and how you ended up here.
Yeah. Just to start out, a little bit about me. Was born and raised in San Antonio. And then about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, my family moved out to Bandera, Texas. So it's a pretty small town, pretty much in the middle of nowhere. It's about an hour away from San Antonio. So it wasn't, in some ways, it was a small move, and in other ways, it was a huge move. Um, and from there, we just kind of started trying to, I guess, have like a farm like life, you know. So some things that we have, like we have some chickens, we have some goats, we have some donkeys. I have a duck actually that my mom's taking care of. She can't walk, so that's a whole nother story. But I take care of her when I'm there, and then when I'm not, my mom's taking care of her. So um, yeah, we started there. We moved there in 2016. Um, and I was at school at University of Dallas at the time. So I graduated from University of Dallas 2017 with a BA in history, which I love history. Um, so I did that, and then as I was coming up to my senior year with history, I started thinking like, what's my next step? Where do I want to go from here? And so through that, after a long process that we could talk about later, um, I found Net Ministries Ireland, and I volunteered with them for a year. So that was 2018 to 2019. I volunteered with them. I was living in Cork, Ireland. And then when I was there, I found another organization that I really liked, Holy Family Mission. And I was there from 2019 to 2020. So I was actually in Ireland when COVID started, and um, that was really interesting just to see like the different, I guess, the more European side of it, like what happened in Europe, and then trying to keep in touch with what was happening in the United States was really interesting. But yeah, I came back in the summer and I started trying to look for a job, and eventually I found this one, and yeah, it seems like a great fit. I mean, I really like it here. It was honestly like exactly what I was looking for. So that's how I came to St. Thomas More, and the rest is history. So
Yeah. So speaking of history, since you're a big fan,
yeah.
what in particular do you like when you study history? Is there a particular era? particular, I don't know, uh, form of history, military history, or just, you know,
Right.
what
Um,
what type of history do you like?
yeah, I really like modern European history. So like um, I guess my go-to would probably be like World War II history. I really like studying that. And then also I like to study ancient history a little bit.
Cool.
So it's kind of a little bit all over the place. And then lately I've been really into American history. So that's kind of a hard question because I feel like it kind of depends on the phase of my life where I like certain history, like certain historical um, areas, genres. I don't know how to phrase it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
really fun.
yeah,
It's really awesome. I
yeah.
didn't know that. So, um, all right. So you studied history, you went on to do some missionary work with NET and Holy Family Missions, which is really awesome. But now you're in Houston, Texas, right? Are you enjoying Houston? Have you gotten a chance to go out, see anything fun? I mean, we're known for having amazing food, right? We're like the food
Yeah.
capital of the world. So, anything in particular you enjoyed about being in Houston? It's only been 3 weeks.
Yeah, I haven't really gone out too much to be honest. I know some people might judge me for this, but oh well. I When we were looking for apartments, my roommate and I we went to the Hobbit Cafe,
Oh, that's
and yeah, that was my number one place. And actually, I already looked it up when we moved into our apartment. It's 7 minutes away from the apartment, so I was like, that was a real game changer for me anyway. When looking at apartments, I was like, well, this one's only 7 minutes away from the Hobbit Cafe, so um, yeah, I want to go back there and because I went there during Lent, and so like wasn't able to maybe like I wasn't able to have like any cocktails or anything, and the cocktails looked like they were really fun. So I kind of want to go back and just have like I don't know something from that menu, just because I think it'd be funny.
yeah, no, that's a really cool little place in
Yeah,
Houston. Very, very well known.
yeah,
Been around for a long time. So, well, since you're big into history, you definitely got to check out the museum district. We were just there last week and saw the Vincent Van Gogh like Hockney or Hockley, I forget his name, exhibit.
is
It's
that
pretty good. It's
the in live one? The like
not yet. That's
okay,
actually going to be later. Um,
I was looking at that one.
that I want to see. That's
Yeah,
definitely gonna be fun.
definitely,
But you got to buy
definitely.
tickets now because they're getting sold out quick.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, so that'll be cool. But last year or before the lockdowns, we actually saw, I think it was Rockwell and his art, which is really cool.
Wow,
Um, and uh, and then before that, I saw some Vincent Van Gogh when they had him there.
nice.
I've really started to appreciate our museum district lately. Now that I've been living back in Houston myself. Um,
Yeah.
So, okay, great. Well, um, tell us a little bit more about yourself, though. I want to hear about your faith journey. Uh, when did uh, when did you truly make your faith your own? Um, like, what was it like for you growing up? Was there a specific moment or a series of moments? Just what's really gotten you to this place in your faith in particular? Your
Right,
personal experience of
right.
Catholicism.
Um, I mean, I think a lot of times when talking about this, you could pick out more than one, time where you feel like, well, I guess to put it, it sounds a little cheesy, but I mean, it is the truth. Where you feel like Jesus is like personally speaking to you, where you feel like that personal relationship. For me, I think like the most I don't want to say the most important because that's not the right word, but I guess I guess when people ask me this question, the first story I think of is the one I'm about to tell. um, so it was actually so growing up, like my parish, we didn't really have a lot of youth ministry. We didn't really have a lot of youth groups or anything. And I had a pretty good community, but that was all very much like you had to find that community, you know, as far as the parish was concerned. you kind of had to look for it outside of the parish. It wasn't really something that was given to us.
Hmm.
And so coming from that, and then also just like it was a very it was very traditional. It has a very traditional background, which I I enjoy liturgically, but I guess on the other hand of that, like I didn't know there was anything else out there. So when I went on to Net to volunteer with Net, Net is known to be very charismatic, and it's known to be very I guess, yeah, I mean, charismatic. Just, I would have my teammates telling me, like, oh, I got this in prayer today, or Jesus spoke to me through this scripture, through this Bible verse, things like that. Like, I would hear stories like that almost on a daily basis. And
Yeah.
I never really thought about that growing up. I never really thought that that was something that happens to people. I kind of thought that was something that like happened to the apostles, and then that was it.
Yeah.
Um, but then, going on Net was a bit of a culture shock, not even because I was in Ireland, but just because I was around, I guess, different demographic of Catholics. And it was really interesting just because then I started to think, okay, well, how come that doesn't happen to me? And that's not to say that it hadn't happened before that, because I think it did. Um, but I think in a way I wasn't open to receive that. Like I hadn't really felt that. And so while I was on Net, I started praying that, and every day I wrote down this prayer, and then every day I would say the same prayer, just asking God to show me that He loved me in a personal way, and that um, I guess that He would choose me back, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and that was something that went on. I'm gonna say it went on for a long time, and it's funny too because then I would get these confirmations, but I would brush them off as coincidences, and I would just be like, "Oh yeah, like that was just coincidence. That has nothing to do with my prayer." But then it was actually after my Net year, I was traveling with my sister, and we went to the Galway Cathedral, and it's a really big cathedral. And so my sister wanted to look around. I had been there twice, I think, at that point. And so I was like, well, I mean, I've already seen this, so I'm going to go off and pray in the Adoration Chapel. They have an Adoration Chapel off to the side. And so I went off to go pray while she was like looking around. And I knelt down to start saying a rosary. And this lady looked at me and like was just kind of like staring at me, and I thought that's kind of weird, but whatever, I'll just keep on praying. um and then I was as I was kneeling there praying, she walks up to me. She doesn't say anything. She just hands me this card, and on the card it said, if you knew how much I love you, you'd cry of joy.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, this cannot be a coincidence. So then, like I tell people when I tell this story, I did start crying of joy, and I was like, this is exactly what I've been asking for. Like this is the sign that I wanted, and like that's a complete stranger. Like I can't brush that off as coincidence. Um, so I think after that is kind of when because then after that I was able to see other times where God had spoken to me, where God had shown that that I had a personal relationship with Him. And even now, like it's a lot better where like I guess I can see that it's a two-way street, whereas before I felt like it was a very one-way street. And that's
Hmm.
not to say that it was a one-way street. It was just that I wasn't really open to seeing it as a two-way street. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get
Yeah.
that. Um, yeah, I think it's interesting that sometimes we brush off things as coincidences, you know,
Yeah.
when really God's hand is at work in all this, right?
Mhm.
And I just remember always being told, like, at least a while back, like, Ryan, like, why don't you give God credit for that? Like, oh yeah, maybe I should. Maybe that was a God thing. And I don't know, it helped me realize, more about like God is our Father. He's watching us, He's with us. Like these things are really in His control at the end of the day. So
Right.
um, well, that's awesome. That's really beautiful. And I actually think I've been to the cathedral in Galway. I
Really?
Yeah, I went to
Nice.
Ireland. Gosh, back in 2009, I think, and was there for about a week, and we went to Galway. It's very very awesome little little
Yeah.
city. Yeah, and I just remember going to a church, and I think it was the cathedral because it's really big and very
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's huge.
And
Yeah.
but I can't really remember because we were all over Ireland. But
Oh, okay.
um,
Yeah.
saw the Cliffs of Moher, did all that, you know. Saw a gravestone that had my name on it, Brian, and I was like, "What? That's the last name out there," you know. So, anyways, nothing like remembering your death, right? Um,
Exactly.
well, so I think I think that's really great. Um, tell us tell us a little bit about your calling to youth ministry. You know, you're here as a youth minister. What in particular has really drawn you to youth ministry specifically?
Right. So I mean, I think it started a while back when I was at UD, and I've tried to look for this video since. UD is University of Dallas for people who don't know. Um, I found or I saw this video that came out actually around like midterms or finals, one of those stressful times, and it said like just remember like um, I mean it was longer than this, but the main message of that was like that you're getting this education to serve others around you. Um, and that, for me anyway, was a bit of an eye opener. Just thinking, okay, like that's right. Like this education, it is for me, but then it also isn't because, um, you know, um, Saint Ignatius, ad maiorem Dei gloriam, like all for the greater glory of God. So how can my education better serve the people around me? Um, and so I started thinking about that, and I started thinking, how can I serve, um, not even the community, but I mean, it was like, what can I do to serve? And from there, I had a friend who had done Net US, and he had always been telling me to do it, and I just kind of brushed it off. I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to do that. But then, and I actually wanted to do Focus, which is
Hmm.
another volunteer missionary organization. And it just seemed like every time that I was thinking about Focus, somehow Net would come into the picture. And so then from there, I was kind of like, okay, well, maybe I should take that as a sign. Um, and so I started filling out the application for Net Ireland my senior year, but I threw it away. I don't even remember what happened, but I was just like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna put this on the back burner for now and worry about trying to get like my career started. Get a car, like get a job, get a new apartment or a house or something. From there. So I went back home and actually in that week was able to find a job, and the job I thought was a summer job, and so I had started looking for um, other job opportunities while I was at this job. And they pulled me into the office one day and they were like, we heard you're looking for other jobs. Are you unhappy? And I was like, no, I think this job is great, but it's a summer job. And they were like, yeah, well, it started out that way, but we want to hire you full time. We want to give you like a manager position. We want to give you a raise, like just everything. And it was everything I had wanted coming out of coming out of college. And but for some reason it didn't sit right with me, and so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to take a few days to think about this. So I actually took 9 days because I was doing a novena. um, and my manager was Catholic, so she understood when I was like, I'm just going to do a novena real quick and then I'll get back to you.
Real quick.
um, yeah, exactly. So at the end of the novena, I mean, I don't know why, but I just knew I couldn't take the job. So I went to her 9 days later and I was like, yeah, I can't take this job. And then, I mean, they were disappointed, but then it was about 2 or 3 days later, I was like, more than that, I actually have to quit. So I put in my 2 weeks, quit my job, and I was unemployed for a long time after that. And when I was unemployed, and I did have job offers when I was unemployed, but nothing felt like it was the right thing, like it was supposed to be, like it was what I was supposed to be doing. And so it was around that time that I started thinking, wait a minute, wasn't I going to apply for Net? Like, maybe I should look back at that. And so I filled out the application, and I think within like 2 weeks I was in, and it just was perfect. Like I felt so much peace about it, and I was like, okay, this is where I'm meant to be going. So, and then after that, I mean, then I did Holy Family Mission. So I was there for about a year and a half. And yeah, and then now I'm here. So
Yeah, and then COVID and coming home.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, COVID was quite the upset, and still is,
Yeah.
for that fact. Well, that's awesome. What are some things here at St. Thomas More that you'd really like to accomplish while you're here? You know, oop, my
Yep.
screen. That does it every 30 minutes.
Okay, cool. I thought we were having technical difficulties again.
No, thank God, no.
Okay, thank goodness. Yeah. Um, some things that I hope to accomplish. I mean, honestly, my biggest like what I hope to be my biggest accomplishment is bringing the youth group back, like
Hmm.
making it more something that the youth want to come to, and not something that they feel like they have to come to. And then for like furthermore, giving them that community for even after confirmation. What do they, because a lot of times we see with high schoolers after confirmation, they they don't really do anything else with the church. And so I kind of want to offer them that space to be able to come back to the parish and still have that community and those friendships. And I mean, even further than that, like, I mean, at the end of the day, there's only so much I can do. So
Right.
giving them that place for community, so that way they can go off and they can go to college, they can get married, have kids, but still have that community there.
Hmm.
I think that's kind of just the bigger picture is what I'm looking at is just trying to give them, really just trying to give them a space where they can be with each other
Hmm.
and have each other. So
I think it's really important,
yeah,
especially nowadays with the challenges we
definitely.
face with the youth. So, talk a little bit about that. What are uh, so I'm hearing you say that you want to provide a space for the youth to grow in community and do these things. What
Right.
specific challenges do you think, though, that these youth that we have today are experiencing? And what are some hurdles that you think you'll see as you try to accomplish these goals?
I think, I mean, honestly, the biggest hurdle right now is that there are so many kids that just don't know how to interact with each other. They, I think you had said this once when we were talking, they don't know how to be friends with each other anymore because they're just constantly, everything's virtual. And that's not even, that was before COVID too. Like,
Yeah.
um, you have social media, and you have so many kids on social media at a younger age than we've ever seen before. So you get with that, they age differently, and I think problems that we used to see in older, I guess in older demographics, we now see like as young as 10 years old, which
Hmm.
is just insane. And I
Yeah.
was actually doing some research before this, and the the American Psychology Association said 9 in 10 Gen Zers. Oh, sorry about that.
Okay.
Um, struggle with depression, anxiety, or some kind of mental illness. And I think a lot of that has to go back to, the virtual world they live in and how they're
Right.
constantly on their phone. And so I think going back to what I was saying before, providing that space for them where they can learn to be friends face to face, not just over a screen and not just over social media. Giving them that space to learn how to grow, learn how to grow in that, learn how to be more like in person, personable. I don't know what the right word is, but I think you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And of course, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, "Oh, my children are very well socialized," they probably are. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I do, but I agree with Leanne. I think that one of the big challenges we have today is that teenagers, as well as the preteen kids, have literally grown up with smartphones from day one. You know,
Yep.
and smartphones are a game changer, right? And one of the things that, like, I know for me, like growing up, the game changers for us were AOL Instant Messenger, right? While we
Yeah.
still had dial up, you know, and what is kind of associated with this rise of technology is the instant gratification and peer evaluation, right? So it was a lot harder for us growing up to know what all of our friends thought all the time, right? Without having an actual conversation with them or texting them somehow.
Yeah.
And of course, we didn't have all these emojis, right, to communicate our text. You know, I remember the first time I ever texted LOL because I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. You know, now we just do it like all the time, right?
With a
Um,
straight face sometimes too.
yeah, you're not even laughing, right? I mean, so so really, in a very short period of time, we've had game changing technology, and on many fronts, right? So as things get faster, more advanced, there's a lot we truly don't know about this technology we use and we subject our kids to. And of course, I would recommend, you know, to anybody, go check out some of Matt Frad's, you know, um, content on this on
Definitely.
smartphone technology. Of course, I don't have anything particular. Maybe we can add it to the show notes later. Um, but I mean, just in my readings in the past about the use of smartphones uh, and the blue light that the LED light puts out and how it reacts with the brain and convinces it to stay awake. It's just really bad, you know. And then uh, I don't remember what it was called, but there was a Netflix show or movie that came out about this. It was like The Social Dilemma, I think. And I never watched the whole thing. I didn't really watch it, but the premise of it, because I'm tired of watching this kind of stuff, to be honest with you. But
Right.
the premise of it was just how these technologies are manufactured uh, to, uh, in a way, prey on um, the addictive qualities of the brain, right? If that's a
Right.
good way to put that, you know. And when we put these very powerful devices in the hands of very young people, we're creating response mechanisms in their brains early on, and attachment disorders, I would call them, with these types of things with smartphones. So um, you know, again, I think they're very dangerous in the hands of young people, and we tend not to think about it. And so um, again, without getting into too much of the details, but from what I remember in my reading myself was that a lot of these kids in Gen Z, or some people like to call it iGen, you know, um, is that the the dopamine response in the brain, right, the pleasure centers, right, are triggered, you know, when they see people that like their stuff. And again, as adults, it happens to us too, right? So remember, it's going to happen in kids also.
Hmm.
um, but with the advent of group texting and group sharing all this content, the younger kids have access to peer evaluation, the quicker they're going to lose a sense of self worth and identity in their parents. Okay. And their peers are going to become the people that give them um, their worth. Right. And so what's happened with that is a rise in depression, a rise in suicides among the age groups that you specifically work in. Right. And so again, all of this is connected, and I think for us to really achieve our goals, uh, achieve your goals, right, with youth ministry, we have to address some of the big problems, and I think this is a huge one. So, you know, in the future for a live stream later, perhaps we'll talk more specifically about that issue, give you some better statistics and better information on what the kids are exposed to and how it affects them psychologically. Now, you know, Leanne and I are not professional therapists, okay? We're not psychologists, um, but it doesn't mean we can't share the great workings of others in this field in various areas. Um, so, Leanne, what are ways that that we can help you as a community? How can St. Thomas More step up and help you accomplish this goal of giving the teenagers, both in middle school and high school, a place where they can really thrive in their humanity, thrive in growing in that personal connection, not simply with themselves, but also with Jesus Christ? What can we do to help you?
Right. I think the best. I mean, I think there's two parts to that. One is, when we have events, come to them, and then from there, I
The
mean,
adults come to them, right? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
the kids come to them, yeah,
Oh, well, that
and
too.
then
You
and
chaperone.
then also, with that, like, honestly, if you see something that you think can be improved, or if you see something that maybe you'd want us to add, um, just let me know. Give me a call, or give me an email, and just let me know, so that way I can try to my best to serve the community in what they need. Um, so I mean, I know, like, for the summer, I'm trying to start coming up with some ideas of things that we could do for the summer. Um, and then going into the fall, like, what are some things that we could do for the fall? What are your kids really going to gravitate towards? What do they want to see? And so I think, really, for me, it's just, I mean, I also haven't really met a lot of people because I've only been here 3 weeks.
Every week.
So I think my strategy is going to be just putting on these different events until I see which one people tend to gravitate towards, and then go from there.
Mhm.
So I think, just let me know, honestly, give me feedback, and let me know
Feedback.
where, exactly, let me know where
Mhm.
I can improve, and let me know the things that you like in the program, so that way I know to put more effort into those, and look for things similar to that.
Mhm. Well, I think that's awesome. I think
Yeah,
communication is leadership, and the more that you try, the more that you even if you fail, it's like it's information, right? It's now I know, that this is not something they're interested in, like
definitely. Yeah.
and that's all you can do,
Mhm.
I would say one of the challenges that we had this last year before you got here was simply not just COVID, but the kids were just, I would say, uh, what's a good word? Just bogged down, right?
Mm,
Just bogged down, like they have all this work at school. They've got, and half of them were Zooming, if not more, up until almost now. I mean, some of them are just not going back to in person classes,
right, right.
and they're just worn out, and so what are you gonna do, right? Like, the best you can do at that point is give them a place to hang out, right? I mean, because they're not going to
Exactly.
be receptive to listening to, sitting and listening to what you want to share with them. um and so I've always held that belief too, that kind of like a Mother Teresa belief, where it's like meet them in the needs that they have, and then give them the gospel, right? Like,
Definitely.
I don't want to be too morbid, but it's just like, I think in a lot of sense, a lot of what we encounter, you and I, and among, you know, really, once kids start making moral decisions that are like more intense, like
Yeah.
when they're like 12 and above, um, you see a lot of spiritual decay, right, of the
Mhm,
soul, right?
mhm.
You see a lot of spiritual woundedness, um, and people have seriously, hurt and very, I want to say, like, numb consciousness, consciences, consciences,
Yeah.
um, and so in a way, like, they might come to us physically healthy, but spiritually are no different than the people Mother Teresa picked up, physically off the
Right,
street, right?
right,
And I've always held that evangelization takes place in four stages. Um, the pre-evangelization stage. Um, well, perhaps that's not one of the stages, but you have this inquiry, this catechetical stage, um, and off the top of my head, all right, then you have your initiation into everything, and the rest of your life, continual conversion, right? So
mhm,
so your kind of pre-evangelization is your first stage, then you inquire, then you formally learn, and then you learn forever, right? That's right. That's kind of where we're all at. We're all somewhere in
Right.
that, and so like what you have to think about in your ministry, of course, is where do these kids that are coming to you fit on that scale?
Right.
Like 1 to 4, really 0 to 3, but um, because everything you do uh, that requires a group like confirmation, youth ministry is going to have kids all across the board, right?
Right.
And perhaps more so that kids are really just barely inquiring and mostly never never been really welcomed here,
Hmm.
right? Like they're just here because they have to be here, right? Well, that's not being welcomed into something, right?
Yeah.
So that's always been a huge challenge, I think, for youth ministry. A big challenge for um, yeah, middle school, high school for sure. Not so much for adult faith formation. Most adults want to be where they are when they come to the church, or at least have a kind of effective maturity to receive
Hmm.
instruction. Um, but yeah, I think that that is one of the things too. That is a challenge is to how do you provide something that helps kids on all levels, right? And like you were
Right.
saying, you want this post confirmation catechumenate. Well, I shouldn't call it a catechumenate, but ministry.
Yeah.
I think everything's a catechumenate, but anyways, but you want this post confirmation, faith formation for these kids, and
Hmm.
there's a lot of great stuff you can do, right?
Right.
But that's where things are going to get really specific with kids, and so um, everything has a ebb and flow to it. So we'll see how it goes, and I think I think you're really going to be great here at St. Thomas More. I think
Thanks.
just keep your head above water. Especially your first year of employment anywhere is typically your hardest, and you're in a director position. You're in a very important job. One challenge that you may encounter soon, if you haven't already, is the reality that you're in the work of faith formation, right? And so the stakes are always high for everyone,
Definitely.
right?
Definitely.
This is a spiritual life or death, right? Reality. And so
Exactly.
of course Jesus says, should anyone lead these little ones astray, it's better that they have a millstone wrapped around their neck and thrown in the river, right? That's pretty harsh.
Yeah.
so
Wow.
we used to have this saying called "Remember the millstone," right? Like before you go and do anything in your ministry, remember the millstone, right? Like this is really high stakes stuff, but also don't lose yourself in that. Okay, I mean, um, what you'll see is a lot of people, and this was my experience before I came to St. Thomas More. Obviously, my experience this last year at St. Thomas More has been hampered by COVID and the challenges that it brought. But so many people would tell me, Ryan, like you need to be able to reach so and so because they don't want their faith, and I feel like it's either my fault or my child's fault. Like maybe it's a grandmother or grandfather, speaking on the behalf of their grandchild, like
Hmm.
you know and so they're for them the stakes are super high, and what you have to remind people is let the Holy Spirit work, you know like let me I'm not saying I'm God, I'm not saying I have all the right answers,
Yeah.
but let me try, and let the Holy Spirit work. No, faith formation is not the way it was when you grew up. Like, no, we can't just demand certain things anymore of kids. Let me try, and
Yep.
just give people that reassurance that you're going to do your best the way you think it is, right? I mean, I think that that's really all anyone can ask for, and let God do what he needs to do, right? I mean, he's the one in control at the end of the day. Um, we're obedient as well to our pastor and also to the bishop, and thank God we have an amazing pastor who values obedience, to his bishop. Uh, so really, I think we have a lot of things to be grateful for here at St. Thomas More. we're very grateful for you saying yes to God's call to be here. Um, and so with that, I see one comment in the chat, so I'm gonna look at it real quick. But if you have any questions, those of you who are watching right now, feel free to put them in the chat. And thank you for being a part of us, our live stream tonight. So, will you do anything on Zoom? All right, we moved recently and now closer to St. Lawrence. Okay, so Guadalupe is asking if we will do things on Zoom. Um, So Guadalupe is a faithful YouTube Thursday night streamer. So thank you for being here, of course. And I'll let Leanne answer that question, and then I'll answer it from an adult faith formation perspective, or from my side. So
Okay. Yep. So we're still going to be doing. We'll be offering at person or at home um, worksheets. So we won't be doing Zoom anymore, but we will still provide some kind of lesson plan for you and your child. But anything that we will do personally is going to be in person. So yeah.
yeah. So with to kind of articulate that a little differently, um, with youth ministry and especially the youngers, the K through 5 crowd, what we found was that Zoom really was not effective. And again, one of these things had to one of the issues here was that adults have the maturity to handle Zoom, to be a part of Zoom, and actually, I think in many ways prefer it uh, over the youth. And the youth are kind of zoomed out, right? They've been
Hmm.
doing it for school for so long, sitting in one room, out of camera. And with our experience this last year of trying to use Zoom, it was really difficult to get kids to uh, to just turn their cameras on. And then they turn the cameras on, and the lighting in the room is so bad you can't see their face really well, or like their head's like way down here, and like or it was just really awkward, right? It was just a weird experience, and it wasn't easy to personally connect with the kids. You cannot really tell because for you to look like you're engaging them media wise, you're looking at a camera, you're not looking at a screen where all their faces are, because that anyway. So there was
Yeah.
just a lot of nuances to Zoom that really don't lend it to quality youth ministry. And so, for those parents that aren't comfortable being in person in the fall, we will provide at home parent based led right program, and we'll keep in touch with you, see how it's going, but really let you do it. Now, for adult faith formation, that's going to be a little different. We are going to try to do some things live as we're allowed to open up again by the diocese. And with that, we probably will live stream via Zoom a lot of those things. So I've been doing that with adult confirmation. I think when it comes to sacrament prep, I won't do that unless you have some kind of or not emergency, but extenuating circumstance that you just can't get away from the home or what have you. Uh, Fine, we'll make exceptions, of course, but we're going to prize uh, the idea of you being here in person as things open up. And of course, we're going to stay as safe as we can with the whole COVID situation. Wearing masks, having hand sanitizer, the whole 9 yards. Uh, so definitely keep your ear to the ground as things develop. I think there's a lot of wonderful products online. The parish is invested in form.org, and we use that for infant baptism a lot, but we're going to use that for other sacraments as well, um, for adult faith formation at least. Um, and so there's a lot that is going to be out there that will help provide to the community as time goes on. But we really look forward to doing catechesis and ministry in person again, and I think it'll be good just to kind of get back to that sense of normal. Um, all right. Well,
Definitely.
there don't seem to be any other questions. So, Leanne, this was wonderful. Thank you for your time. Of
Yeah.
course,
Thank you for having me.
yeah, of course, yeah. Well, we're very blessed, and um, hopefully maybe in a month or two from now we can do another interview and we'll talk more specifically about the ins and outs of youth ministry challenges and let parents give some parent uh, facts, so they can be aware of and help them, be true ministers to their own kids, right? That is the goal. We want our parents to truly be able to pastor their children. Okay. Um, well, with that being said, this has been really fun. I've enjoyed getting to know you a little bit more, and I'm sure over the couple years, really great work is going to come out of this office. It's going to come out of St. Thomas More, and we're going to be eternally grateful for you choosing yes to us. And Leanne, God bless you. Have a great night, and we look forward to all the great things you're going to do. And for those of you who want to help us in youth ministry, you can reach out to Leanne. Her email is on the website, um, at St. Thomas More's website. And so reach out and let her know you exist. And we'll,
Yeah, definitely.
uh, we're always looking for chaperones, for people to help out. And, um, and we have a lot of fun things that Leanne's getting started. So I'm very excited. It's going to be really great. And I hope that you all have a very wonderful and blessed night. God bless you all.
God bless.